What should you read at least once in your entire life? A book written by a living author, published by an independent press. We live in a golden age of some of the most awesome, delightfully unhinged books being widely available without much searching. Seriously, whatever niche you're into, there's probably an independent press out there putting out stuff you'd love. Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, it's very honest and raw. And tenacious. I can't tell you how many times I've read this book. It completely altered my perspective on everything. It's quite well written, with a smooth and engaging style. This book compels readers to see what they don't want to see and then learn from it. Please, if you haven't already done so, read it. Also, if you've already read it, go back and read it. Night, by Elie Wiesel. Everyone must read this novel. It is bleak, written by a survivor of the Holocaust, and details just how low humanity can get, which is something we should all be more aware of so we don't sink to such depths ourselves. It's also important to always remember the tragedy suffered by the Jewish people throughout history, but especially during the 20th century. Johnny got his gun. Never before had I read something that horrifying and bone-chilling. And I don't think I will ever find something like that ever again. I legitimately feel sick just thinking about it, but I really do think everyone should read it so they'll have to think about the ramifications of war. The Bible. I know, not everyone is religious, but as an atheist I found reading the Bible to be very empowering and helped me gauge a better understanding of why I'm a non-believer. I also think the majority of Christians need to read the Bible, lol. I advise you to read Jack London Martin Eden. This is a very deep and philosophical novel. 1984 by George Orwell. It's not the easiest of reads. I'm no conspiring theorist, but it's amazing how close it is to the world we're in today with the overwatch of society, cancellation of people, the forced changing of language, etc. I know it's a cliche at this point, but 1984. It really opens your eyes to how authoritarian governments can use psychological mind tricks to influence people. Hachette. Mein Kampf and the Communist Manifesto. Gulag Archipelago. The English Dictionary. Infinite Jest. Warning Signs. The Hanjin Murders, Perfect Murder Book. Terms and conditions of at least one product. I bet very few people actually read the term and conditions before agreeing to it. The Bible, if not for religious practice, then for scholarly research, to glimpse back in time to what ancient people believed and why they believed it. The Giver. Really makes you feel like you are taking all your emotions for granted. Joan Didion. From the stats I hear about North Americans, literally any book, outside of high school/university. For fun or enlightenment, or both. Something you want to read, not be told to read. It's been said that reading 10 pages a day is a good way to be more attractive, if intelligence isn't a good enough reason on its own. Frankenstein. White Noise by Don DeLillo? Man, is he good at writing prose, and it's eerily timely. 1984, now more than ever, since in many ways we are starting to live it. The Chronicles of Narnia. An American Sickness, How Healthcare Became Big Business and How You Can Take It Back. Was asked this question in college and I chose a boy called it. Also the following books. Hard to read, but the ending is good. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams. Road Signs. Medicine Instructions. Catcher in the Rye. This book put me through an emotional roller coaster. In my opinion, it was a great lesson about growing up and being a realist. Mad Magazines from 60s through 80s. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Honestly, the Bible, if only to see that 90% of what they ascribe to it is either taken out of context or simply not true. How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. The Art of War, Sun Tzu. Berserk by Kentaro Miura. It's so beautiful and I want everyone to feel the emotions that it makes you feel. Everything in the Enderverse. My personal favorite is The Lord of the Rings. Basically all modern fantasy owes its roots to this book. The Lord of the Rings. So much more than the movies. Though I liked the movies, there was just no way to put it all on film. One of the only books I read for school and enjoyed, Ender's Game. It made me understand why people always say the movie isn't as good as the book. I loved the movie before I read the book, but it leaves out so much. It gets like that in all movie adaptations. Anyway, the book was so thought-provoking and made me think about some things we just kind of accept are the way they are. I also gave me a healthy amount of existential dread. Overall, a really thought-provoking book. I'm probably going to reread it someday, and then maybe I'll have the motivation to read the sequels. Hyperion, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. A Child Called It. 1984 by George Orwell. I can't believe how many people have not read it. Friday by Robert Heinlein. Talk Everlasting. Your Car's Owner's Manual. Seriously. Neuromancer by William Gibson. One Piece. 100% on the top 20 manga of all time. The Dresden Files. The Giver. It has such an interesting story, and the world building is very polished. The Instructions. The Complete Works of Dr. Seuss. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Anything by Christopher Moore. My first was The Stupidest Christmas Angel. My favorite is Lamb. If you like irreverent and sudden humor, this is your guy. The Holy Bible. Any of the novels by Charles Bukowski. He knew how to write an entertaining story. 1984 by George Orwell. Yes, it gets depressing. But it is the spark that got me to understand how totalitarianism works. The Sign That Tells You How to Wash Your Hands. 100 Years of Solitude. I'll never stop recommending it. It's just that amazing. The Harry Potter series. Confederacy of Dunces is a masterpiece and hilarious. Ready Player One. I feel it's a good book because the moive to what I know left out a lot for it being like an 1,000-page book in like a 1 in 30 minutes. It shows where a lot of moives come from. Guns, Germs, and Steel. What If and How to by Randall Munroe. Great books. Chronicles of Narnia. The epic scale of it always held a special place in my heart as a kid. Everyone should read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, really useful for literally anything. Anything by Terry Pratchett. So funny. Page 2 of Google. Siddhartha by Hess, Slaughterhouse-Five by Vonnegut, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Adams. Why these three? Because when I combined the philosophy of these three books, I found the absurdity of the human condition no longer depressed me. I can laugh at anything now. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Truly did change my perspective on life. As a bonus, also 1984 by George Orwell. A book called The Count of Monte Cristo. Full safety instructions in the airplane. How to win friends and influence people. It would make everyone a better person. You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh. Not promoting any religion, but Bhagavad Gita is a must-read IMO. Fahrenheit 451, because it's amazing how something written so long ago has so many parallels to our current society. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. People always talk about 1984 as the dystopian novel to read. I rarely see Fahrenheit 451 or Brave New World mentioned though. I believe those two novels have much more relatability to our own world and way of life, the dystopia of anti-intellectual overconsumption and a restrictive utopian dystopia respectively. Both books have stayed with me in a much larger way than 1984 did. I believe everyone should read those. Alternatively, I believe everyone should read Vonnegut. His writing style is so engaging and absurd. The Hobbit. 1984. This book was written in 1949, way before the personal computer was a thing, and with cameras now becoming a profound normality in everyday life, the book continues to be borderline prophetic. 1984 is certainly a warning that has not been heeded. And it's just a fun, thought-provoking, comical, though disturbing dystopian read. This book is where the term Big Brother came from. The DMV Handbook. The terms and conditions, there's some interesting stuff in there. Lord of the Rings. It's a lot better than the movies in my opinion. And they're just great books after all. You can start with 1984 by George Orwell. A biography from someone you dislike. It's really interesting to learn how someone became who they are and gives you insight into why they are the way they are. Not saying we'll find world peace, just maybe some clarity. Also, try a book from every genre: sci-fi, western, romance, mystery, etc. The Fine Print. The Bible should be read one time in your life. The Bible? The Holy Bible. Read it every day, and live your life by it. And Frank's diary. It was affected me a lot during reading. This gave me a different perspective of wars. Bible. Instructions on a shampoo bottle. The script for the B-movie. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Animal Farm by George Orwell because it's quite short. Last Chance to See by Douglas Adams has his usual brand of humor but on a very serious subject. The Scarlet Letter, you can read it 6 times in your life at different ages and take something different away every time. The Bible, even if you don't believe, it's an interesting read. It showed me how wrong all denominations are, as they all preach in opposition to what the book says. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The Autobiography of Malcolm X. 1984, so you can see what right-wingers get wrong about the book. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, that story made me feel very happy and hopeful. Mein Kampf, people need to learn how one of the most despotic tyrants in history thinks of himself so they can be better prepared to deal with the tyrannical despots that are to come. The Catcher in the Rye, which I am currently reading. The Bible. It is interesting, and it's worth plowing through it just to see what all the fuss is about. Uncle Tom's Cabin. The iTunes TOS Agreement. There is some messed up stuff in there. They can claim your children if they want to. Am I wrong? You don't know, you've never read the agreement. How to Make Friends and Influence People. Honestly, if you're from a Western country, I would recommend reading the Bible once. It gets a lot of flack for the fundamentalists who thump it, but the Bible is actually very good reading, and gives you a better sense of what Western culture is founded on, i.e. the Judeo-Christian ethics. It really just opens your eyes to why things are the way they are pretty much anywhere outside of Asia. None. People shouldn't force themselves to read something if they don't like it. A history book. The Life of Pi. It drastically changed how I think about the world. Alas Shrugged. My username. Your parents' obituary. They should not have to read yours. Kama Sutra. A phone book. The Hunger Games. Street Signs. A fanfic of your favorite anime/manga. Anything by Robert Greene. 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction Mastery have all changed my life. Darth Bane, Path of Destruction. It really depends on what kind of books you like. No matter how much a story enters the 100 books you should read before you die, you may not like it because maybe you don't like Police Chronicles, or you don't like medieval fantasy. If you like magic, you should read Harry Potter. If you like things more creepy or spooky, you should read a Stephen King book. Who Moved My Cheese? The directions on Q-tip boxes. It's a slow start, but the ending is really surprising. Hitler's Speech. The Alchemist. This comment. Communist Manifesto is the only book you'll need. Directions/instructions. For health, medical medium book. For business, cash flow quadrant. For life, slight edge. Che Guevara, A Revolutionary Life by John Lee Anderson. It's a shockingly well-researched look at a very polarizing figure in history, and somehow the book manages to make the Cuban sugar trade interesting. The Manual. A survival guide in the event of nuclear war. Tuesdays with Maury Blackheart. The software license agreement of any MicroDollarOft product. Do not become the MicroDollarOft CEO's towel boy. I really liked the Super Smash Bros. Brawl Trophy Gallery. Jupiter's Travels. It gave me a new perspective on the world. Terms and Conditions. The push/pull sign on doors. A Choice of Weapons by Gordon Parks. Also, Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. Both those books were life-changing. Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Truly tasteless jokes. Clearly a lot more people actually need to read 1984 and pay attention. Anything by Shakespeare. Actually sample all the genres he wrote in: comedy, tragedy, thriller, even a love story. Tuck Everlasting, Natalie Babbitt. Instruction manuals. I enjoy reading them. I find out functions people didn't realize from not reading the manual, or even present in the electronic things they bought, and even sometimes in furniture, like a hidden compartment. Sure, reading them takes a while, but if you're playing with the manual and the electronic item together, you get to understand the item a lot easier and quicker than you would if you winged it and screwed around. It can be fun if you make it fun. The Astral Planes, C.W. Leadbeater. The Dark Hold. Terms of Service. Gulag Archipelago. Especially if you're American. I feel like our schools do a terrible job of explaining how bad life was for a lot of people in the Soviet Union. The Food Labels of the Food You Eat. Hatchet by Gary Paulson. East of Eden, John Steinbeck. Rig Veda. A Will with Your Name on It. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. Or anything by David Sedaris. He's hilarious. The Invention of Morale. Just started it, but berserk. The F Times King Manual. 1984, but also The Tale of Kevin. Your job description. Bible. Even if you don't believe it, you can at least try to understand the religion when talking to people about it and know when someone is just pulling a random verse out of context to support their decision or opinion. Berserk by Kentaro Miura. The Outlanders series by Diana Gabaldon. This Thread. Catcher in the Rye. Some history about the last 100 years. The MSDS for chemicals that you keep around your home. Life of Pi. The Riot Act. On the Western Front, It's All Quiet. One of the best-worn novels of all time. The physical, psychological, and psychic traumas of battle are vividly depicted. Cosmic Trigger by Robert Anton Wilson and Prometheus Rising. I'm not sure how well it did, but East of Eden received a lot of positive feedback and votes, and I believe it's a book that everyone should read at least once in their lives. Safety Instructions for Power Tools. Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis is a story I'll never forget. It takes only a few hours to read. The speed limit signs posted on the freeway. Read something by a self-published author. Seriously, you can't imagine how happy it makes us. The terms and conditions of whatever you're signing. Your memories. Of Mice and Men. May I recommend The Death of Ivan Ilyich, smiley face. A story called Criss-Cross. Low-key a really odd story, but it's intriguing and I recommend this book to a lot of people. Definitely different religious texts than the one you grew up with. Always good to get a fresh perspective on the world. The Letter E. The Little Prince, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Not only does it speak and deliver some great truths about life, it is also very enjoyable to read and not time-consuming either. Available in many languages, smiley face. I read a book called The Color Code by Dr. Taylor Hartman. I'm not a social person, so it helped me a lot. A Street Cat Named Bob. 1984, pretty much the world we live in now. Disagree with the government? Thrown in jail for misinformation. Definitely The Gulag Archipelago. Long hard read, but well worth it. The Bible, so you can argue it. Say a survival guide or something similar. The Back of the Shampoo Bottle. Martin Buber, I Am Thou. You won't get it all, but it's a book you can and should come back to at various points over the years. It'll change the way you think about and treat other people. The Rules of Acquisition. Your Own Name. I have one abbreviation, MASH. The instructions on how to use whatever it is you are about to use, especially if it is heavy machinery, might save your life. D's. Guide to the Perplexed. Maimonides. Victor Hugo. Safety Guidance on Flight. A book. Any book. Far too many people never read a single book. Guns, Germs, and Steel. I also plan to read The Sixth Extinction soon. Bill Bryson, A Short History of Nearly Everything, astounding book. A Drowned Maiden's Hair. I read the book when I was a little girl and I absolutely loved it. It's a really great book and I'm surprised it's not more popular. Great Expectations. The manual of your car. Advice, like youth, probably just wasted on the young, aka Wear Sunscreen by Mary Schmitz. I always come back to this article when I need a reminder of what's important. The article. A book. Any novel you choose interest in. Ages 3 and up. Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky Brothers. The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. The Old Man and the Sea. Not very long, you can knock it out in an afternoon or two if you want, but incredibly well written and super emotional/intense. The Gift of Fear from Gavin de Becker.